About 30% of Americans have gone to the ocean, but how deep have you gone? Your ears already have pressure on them at just a foot deep. At 4 feet, you will start to feel pain, and at 6 feet, blood vessels and tissue will start to tear. But how deep has someone gone into the depths of the ocean? This is the history of the freedive world record. In ancient Greece, they would send divers to cut anchors off of attacking ships. In 2,000-year-old Japan, people were sent diving out for pearls. Pearl diving quickly spread across the Philippines, India, and other parts of Asia, and eventually made it to the Native Americans. 2 millennia later, Scotty Gioros dived nearly 200 feet down to retrieve a missing anchor. Scotty just got $6 and a lifelong permission to fish with dynamite for doing the stunt. In 1949, Romeo Butcher dove to the depth of 30 meters. Although it was only half of what Scotty did, he claimed the official record. But for the sake of this video, Scotty still has the title. Butcher was given 50,000 lire, equivalent to $28. In 1949, Alberto Novelli heard about Butcher's record. Him and his friends spent the next 2 years trying to beat it, and on February 1st, 1951, he would be successful. He dove to a depth of 35 meters, breaking the official record, but still nowhere close to Scotty. The next year, Butcher was set to claim back his record. He plunged to the depth of 39 meters, taking the record in the process. 4 years later, in 1956, Alberto Novelli would come back to take the official record, diving 2 meters more at 41 meters. The 60s and 90s are now known as the race of the freediving pioneers, as many amazing dives would take place within this short amount of time. In 1960, Americo Santarelli dove to a depth of 43 meters. The same year, Enzo Maiorca dove to a depth of 45 meters. The next year, he would dive to 50. 4 years later, in 1965, he reached the depth of 54 meters. In 1965, Titike Williams dove to the depth of 59 meters. The next year, Jax Mayol dove 60, finally tying Scotty's record after 53 years. The same year, Enzo Miracia beat Scotty's record with a dive of 62 meters. In 1967, Bob Croft would dive 64 meters deep. The same year, Jack Mayol would come back, diving to the depth of 71 meters, breaking the 70-meter mark. The race would be between Miracia, Croft, and Mayol. In 1973, Miracia dove to the depths of 80 meters. 2 years later, Mayol dove to 92 meters. Within the span of a decade, we have gone 38 meters down. The next year, Mayol would get another record, this time going to 101 meters, breaking the 3-digit mark and into the history books. In 1983, Mayol improved, diving 105 meters down, ending the race of the freediving pioneers. In 1989, Angela Bandini dove to the depth of 107 meters, being the first female to take the record. The same year, Francisco Ferrins dove to 112 meters. In 1991, Umberto Pelzira dove 6 meters deeper at 118. Francisco would take back the record in 1992, going 120 meters down. Umberto would take it back the next year with 123 meters. Later that year, Francisco would try again, getting 125 meters. 2 years later, Francisco would beat his own record, going to 128 meters. The next year, Umberto dove 131 meters at the first official freediving team world championship. Later that year, Francisco dove 133 meters. Guyan Lucajanoli was a professional swimmer, but in 1998, he dove to 135 meters. The next year, Loic Leverme dove 137 meters down. Later that year, Pellerzira came back to dive 150 meters. But in 2002, the first record-breaking dive of the new millennia would occur. It'd also be by the second woman in history to take the record. Tiana Streeter dove 160 meters down. To this day, she still holds the women freediving world record. Later in 2002, Loic would dive 162 meters. 2 years later, he'd dive 171 meters. In 2005, Herbert Nitsch dove 172 meters. 2 years later, Nitsch destroyed his old record, diving 214 meters down. After getting the 42-meter difference in 2012, he dove 253 meters, but he was injured during that dive and fell asleep due to nitrogen narcosis. He would be out from freediving for the next 2 years. That's where the record stands today. Now where does the record go from here? Scientists were shocked that the human body could even go 30 meters down. How did we get to a quarter of 4 digits? The world record breath hold is over 24 minutes. That could give divers a lot more time to go down a lot farther. The record hasn't been broken in over a decade, and if it's broken soon, who will it be by? Only about 5% of the ocean has ever been explored. If you want to know more about the deep depths, you might as well dive in.